Okay, thank you so much for a kind offer of the praise to Aritara, Anilas Venerable Young Anilas. Thank you so much. In fact, I came to learn that from yesterday's group discussions, some interesting questions are coming up. And one of the questions is the difference between, say, how do you demarcate between the plants, whether they are living things, sorry, whether they're living things or whether they're living or not living. This is, which group was that? Living things, living, not living plants. Which group? Okay, was it discussed or not discussed in the group? Huh? Okay, you ask this question and then the response. Ah, Mike.
Gisela, my question was, how do we define sentience and whether plants were included in sentient beings?
Okay, so this is the very interesting question and also very important question. I say number one, what is sentient? And number two, what is whether or not the plants are sentient? So for this, the we need to do what we know is that we need to make distinction between living things and living beings. Living things and living beings. Living things. The plants are living things. The plants are living things. We're also living things. Plants are living things. But the plants are not living beings. Plants are not sentient beings because they don't have the mind. Now, how do you know that? How do we know, for example, like the sunflowers? Sunflowers, when it is directed towards the west, when sun shines, it will turn towards the east. So there's a movement happening. It knows where the sun is coming from. This is purely chemical movement. Movement because of the chemical reactions. It's not because of the volitional thoughts, volitional the mental activity. It's because of the chemical reactions. Now, how do you distinguish between the action driven by the purely by chemical versus volition? This is a very important point. For example, like say this object, this flower, if I throw this, I push it like this, I push it, I push this flower, it falls, but it will not come back. It will not act against the force, natural force. Whereas the human beings, if I push the she can come back through her volition. If she doesn't want to come back, she'll not come back. If she wants to come back, she'll come back. So there's volition there inside. Volition meaning like a free will. This is there. Where there is this volition or free will, that is ascension. Where the free will is missing, that is living thing, but not living being. And the table and these things, they're not living things, not living beings at all. The plants are living things, they're not living beings. Animals, human beings, they are living things as well as living beings. Living beings and sentient beings, these two are sentient and living beings, these two are synonymous. Okay, any more questions? Pitch a plant.
Bug or something goes inside, you know? They realize it's there. I don't know. You're just using it. And it goes in and the plant knows it's there.
Okay, say this is known as a pitcher plants. There are many of such things like sunflower and the sunflower which turns towards the east, towards sunlight. Then the pitcher plants, the moment the insects gets in, it closes the lid. And then the touch me not touch me not. There's some plants, you touch it, instantly it will shrink. So these are all there. These are living things. They're not living beings. They are purely because of the chemical reactions, not because of the volitional thoughts. This is the difference. Okay, any more questions? Yes, Tushar. Mike. Mike.
I have two questions. One is a follow-up question. The other day we were discussing about desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. So we are discussing in the group. So we were a little confused because the other day you said that these are not mental states. One is born in a particular realm. So we are discussing the example of when he actually became a Buddha, whether it is
Okay, the Tushar's question is about the three realms, desire realm, formless realm. Buddha Shakyamuni is born in a desire realm, and then within the desire realm, he became enlightened. Now that he became enlightened, where is he now? In the three realms, where is he now? What's the next question?
Next question is the difference between an imaginary flower and the a dream flower.
Very good. This is noted. I noted it down here. Okay, good. So the first thing is that these three realms are where these two realms are nothing but the samsara, where the somebody who's in the dream, created by the self-grasping ignorance, live. This is where these people who, with self-grasping ignorance, creates a dream. And within this dream, then there are three levels. The once you exit out of this, you come out of the sleep, then you are not in the dream anymore. So these three things are in the form of three different realms within the creation of the dream. And once you become Buddha, you get already woken up. So you are not in one of these three realms. But it doesn't mean that the Buddha will not now come to help us. No, right now Buddha is helping us, serving us, helping us. So this is the benefit. When you become Buddha, you're out of the dream, you're not affected by the dream, but you can continue to help the beings in the dream. This is the benefit. Okay. The next question is about the how to distinguish between the imaginary flower and the real flower, dream flower. Dream flower. Okay. That's interesting. Why are you interested in this question? Mike.
Because both are subjective, both are coming from the mind, but then we are not able to differentiate the subjectivity between the two.
Okay. Eva.
Because
Eva. Eva. Why don't you sit on your own place? Okay, you are now. Okay. So kind. Okay. So what you're saying is that the dream flower and the real flower, all three are subjective. Not only, even the real flower also subjective. Everything is subjective. So while all are subjective, they are these three are different. How they're different? This is a very good question. They're all coming from your mind. They're all subjective. Yet there's a difference. For example, like the water, imagine water, dream water, and the real water. All three are subjective. All three are coming from your mind. But the real water, when you drink it, it quenches your thirst. Dream water, you drink it, it will not quench your thirst. Imagine water is even to, if it, there is even, people not even think of drinking it. But the dream water, people think of drinking it. When you're in dream, you think of drinking the water. But imagine water, you will not drink. But the real water, you will drink and it quenches your thirst. Now, what's the difference? So, where the, so before I touch this, I may say that the difference between the, let's say, nihilism and emptiness. Emptiness, nihilism. So when you speak about emptiness, then we speak about the real flower, real water, empty of objective reality. And the imagined flower, this is into nihilism. Oh, everything's like imagined flower, you fall in nihilism. So difference between nihilism and emptiness. So where the empty, we speak of the emptiness, there's a functionality, cause and effect relation, efficacy of cause and effect is there. In other words, cause and effect is very efficacious. Efficacious meaning that the cause and effect precisely works. For example, if you eat food, your hunger goes away. If you don't eat food, imagine you were eating food, it will not remove your hunger. So this is the cause and effect. But in the emptiness concept, there's cause and effect operating. Whereas in the imaginary nihilism, there's no cause and effect. It's just very chaotic. You think, oh, okay, now I'm Buddha. And the next moment, now I'm sentient being. Okay, now I have no suffering. Now I'm full of suffering. You can imagine anything. That is nihilism. So main distinction between the nihilism and the emptiness is where the functionality, cause and effect functionality is there. This is the emptiness concept. Where the cause and effect is disrupted, chaotic, this is nihilism or imagination. So imaginary flower and real flower, while both are subjective, one has a cause and effect, the functionality. Other does not have the cause and effect functionality. Where there's no cause and effect functionality is known as nihilism. Where there's cause and effect functionality is known as emptiness or the conventional world. This is the difference. Dream flower, some people are interested in this. Imagine flower, nobody's interested in this. This is difference. Okay. Kamalji?
Dependent origination.
Exactly. In other words, say the functionality, cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect relationship is about dependent origination. Okay, thank you, Kamalji. The dependent origination, we talked about emptiness equals dependent origination, and dependent origination equals the middle way. Therefore, emptiness equals middle way. So last time we did not really touch the three levels of dependent origination. Dependent origination, there are three levels. Okay, you just write 3 levels of dependent origination. 3 levels of dependent origination. Ramela, 3 levels of dependent origination. The first, dependent origination of the results dependence on causes. Dependent origination of the results dependence on causes. Dependent origination of the results dependence on causes. Number 2, dependent origination of the wholes depends on parts. Dependent origination of wholes, W-H-O-L-E, wholes dependence on parts. 1, no, what is number 1? Dependent origination of the results depends on causes. Number 2, dependent origination of the wholes depends on parts. Parts, P-A-R-T-S, parts. And finally, dependent origination of dependence on mere mental designation. Dependent origination of dependence on mere mental designation. Dependent origination of dependence on mere mental designation. Okay, need any clarification? Need more repetition? Okay, first, 3 levels of dependent origination. Number 1, dependent origination of the results and dependence on causes. Number 2, dependent notion of the whole's dependence on the parts. Number 3, dependent origination of dependence on mere mental designation. Slash imputation. This was same. Mental designation slash imputation slash projection. Okay, yes, let me get back to you. Dependent origination of and dependence on mere mental designation, imputation slash projection slash label. Very good. Slash label. Okay. Now let me quickly explain the difference. In the first place, before talk about the difference, we need to know that number 1 through to number 3. Number 1 is the grossest. Gross. Number 2 is subtler. Number 3 is subtlest. So in other words, gross, Gross. Chorokandela, what is gross in Menke? Rakba. I see. Okay. Are you sure? Okay. Rakba. Hozo. Oh. Okay. So either Chorokandela's Menge is not good, or the nuns they don't understand Menge. Okay. Ajit, the Jigme children la. What is gross in Menge? Okay, you don't know. Okay. The Tirumondula. What is gross in Menge?
Knowledgeable, so I think I'll go with
Okay. So anyone who likes to shed some light here as to what it means by gross in Menge? Huh? The Tudentishla. Rakpa. Rakpa is Pege. It's not Menge.
Gishila, in terms of when they learn the Buddhist and the Buddhist texts, they use at Rakpa.
Oh, I agree. That's
But in collegial, again we say Raporobo. Raporobo means very gross.
that's true.
But
Rabrop.
again, this will give you a different
It
connotation.
doesn't matter. So the Anilas, you know Rabrop? Rabrop.
Raporobo.
Rabrop.
Very,
You know that?
very.
For example, say road. Some roads are very smooth, some are very rough. You understand it? That's known as gross. Gross, and then the road becomes better, and but very smooth.
That is called Jumbo.
Jumbo. Nice. Oh, that's very good. Okay, now unless you understand it. The first one, 3, the first one is very rough. Last one is jumbo. Right? The first one is very gross and easy to understand. The third one is difficult to understand. It's very subtle. So subtle versus spelling. Manjuriji. Subtle. Don't pronounce it as subtle. Pronounce it as subtle. Be silent. Subtle. Be silent. When you write, SUBTLE. But when you read, be silent. Just read subtle. Okay. So the first one is very gross, but dependent origination of the results depends on causes. Very gross. Very easy. And the last one, dependent origination of dependence on mere mental designation / imputation / projection / label. That is very subtle. Very subtle. Okay, now let me explain. Let me explain this. The first one. Let's say this flower. And your name is Ragila. Stand up and pick up the flower from His Holiness. I put a flower there. Bring this to me. From here. Flower. Hey, no. On the altar. Yes, bring it to me. Oh, Tushana. This is like it. Okay. So let's say this flower. This flower, does it fulfill the first level of dependent origination? Okay, maybe the Eva, you sit and you write because that you are busy thinking of who to give this mic. Okay, so this flower, do you agree with me that this flower is produced but depends on its earlier seeds? You agree? Earlier seeds planted, and this flower grows. So therefore, this flower is a dependent origination where it is dependent on its causes. Why I'm bringing this flower, not this one, is because people say that this is not a real flower, this is a fake flower. So to avoid this complication, I brought this. Okay, so this flower fulfills the first level of dependent origination, that this flower comes into being by dependence on causes like seeds, soil, water, but depends on these causes. Then this flower came into origination. How many agree with me? And how many of you know that? How many of you know the first level of dependent origination? Yes, this is dependent origination. Depends on its previous causes. How many of you know that? Raise hands. So this is rakpa. This is gross. This is very gross, easy to understand. The first one. Second one is little more difficult. Not difficult, little more difficult than this. Second one is, for example, let's say this flower. This flower is made of petals. The petals, stamen, stigma, all these parts inside. This flower is also a whole, dependent on the parts. It's multiple parts. You agree? This also you know that. For example, like this house. This hall is made of walls, the ceiling, the pillars, the windows, the doors, the floor. You agree? So this house is a whole, and this whole comes into being but depends on the parts. This is known as dependent origination of the whole's dependence on parts. This also you know. This also you know. Now, look at this flower and see how many of you know that this is coming from a mind. Or, no, it doesn't come from, it's really there, solid, objectively there. How many of you see this as objectively real? Resents? Which means when you see it's object real, you don't see this as subjective. You don't see that as your mind projecting it. It's coming from your mind. You don't see that. Because you don't see that coming from the mind, so therefore you don't see this as the third level of dependent origination. What is the third level of dependent origination? Dependent origination of dependence on mere mental designation / imputation / projection / label. Very good. So we don't see that. So the third one is very difficult, very subtle. If you understand the third one, and gradually you may get your practice to see it. Whenever you see things, you see it as dependent origination, dependence on mere mental destination. Then you wake up. This is the time you wake up from the sleep of ignorance. This is how you become enlightened. Okay, so the third level of dependent origination, very important. To understand emptiness, you must understand the third level of dependent origination. Let me repeat it. To understand emptiness, you must understand the third level of dependent origination. Okay, good. Now, on the Okay, any questions on emptiness thus far? Any questions? Any questions on emptiness? Any question? Okay, Dejonla. Dejonla, then Sahil. First Dejonla. Mike.
So, sorry, Geshe. When talking about the external and internal factors
Yes.
which are responsible for the suffering, does the external includes both the external to the eye, that is like eye that we build, like suppose the way we dress up or the way we look, our appearances, and as well as the things that we see outside. So, like, is there a nuance difference, or like, is it both included in the external, or is it different?
Okay, this is a good question. So when you say that you dress in a particular way, and so when you dress in that these dresses, they also make a difference for you. When you go out, you go more what say more properly dressed. When you're in home, you are in informal dress. So these dress makes a difference. And when you interact with other people, you interact with the outside things, you go to the hotels, restaurants, or you go on adventure. Again, we meet with external things. So, for example, like what you put on, what you eat, what you wear, these do they fall under the external factors or internal factors? Answer is external. Internal is self-grasping ignorance, self-centered attitude, and their offshoots in the form of inappropriate attention, afflictions, and contaminant karmas. These are internal. Good. Okay, Sahil.
Geshe, I didn't fully understand the third
Third level.
level of dependent origination.
Very good. Okay, third level dependent origination. In the first place, to understand this really well. So understanding, there are three levels of understanding. Wisdom derived through learning, studying, or hearing. When wisdom derived through reflection, wisdom derived through meditation. The first one, wisdom derived through learning. What we are doing at the moment is wisdom derived through learning. We just learn, gather information. That is wisdom derived through learning. When you say, why I don't truly understand that, you may be referring to the first one or the second one, or for sure not the third one. For the third one, if you reach to that level, wanting to know the third one, the person already should have the first and the second. When you have the second, then you already have that experience. The experience that nothing is subject, everything is the dependent on mere mental designation, projection, imputation, and mere label. Through mere labeling, not label, through labeling. This is the point. So, and when you reach that level, then you see that it's no need to ask questions. Now I know what it is. Now I have to keep meditating. For example, like today, for my cold, Kamalji gave me some medicines, and also doctor prescribed some medicine, gave me medicines. I've only got medicines. Now there's no need to ask. What should I do? Keep taking this at the right time. As doctor advised, you have to take this medicine on the right time. So when you reach that second level, then you already got the medicines. So your job is to continue to take the dose of the medicines at the right time. This is what we should be doing. So when somebody asks these questions, which means you're looking for either the first one or the second one. For the first one, you have to gather more information. So, but last 4 days, we have gathered enough information, but of course, this is not enough. We require to study more. For example, people from Narada Master's course. How many of you are there from Narada Master's course? Raise hands. Okay, just look at those people, and if possible, try to ask them. What kind of studies do you do? Narada Master's course is for 5 years. And it may get extended to 6 years as well if we could not complete the course. in time. So then you can ask them what you study. We study only for 5 days, right? 5 days with good lunch, group affairs, a good tour to school, and gendala wes gendala is bakbak, right? And with all this fun, we studied very easily. We studied. We say 5 days, actually not 5 days. Okay, so people study. NMC students, they study for 5 years, not 5 days, 5 years. So you ask them what you are studying. So this is one thing. Now, to get a little understanding of what it is, that the last 5 days we've been discussing about how, for example, like say now, this flower, you see it's a flower. But if you go and how you see this flower as objectively real flower, and if the flower does exist objectively, not from your mind, not mental projection, not mental the designation, mental projection, mental imputation, they all mean the same. Labeling, they all mean the same. Okay, first let me say mental. First, maybe better would be mental projection. Mental projection. Say like a movie projector. Movie projector is behind you, and you are watching a movie here. So movie on the screen is coming from where? Hey Anila, put the mask. What's your name? This is Shamla. Tell me, this is Shamla. Where's the movie coming from? The movie is coming from where? You're watching a movie on here screen, although you've never seen movie theater. Oh, yeah. Okay, just imagine that you're in a movie theater, you're watching a movie. Where's the movie coming from? It's coming from the projector. Where's the projector? Behind you. You getting it? Projector behind you. Okay, how many agree with Tenzi Shambhala reasons? How many agree with Tenzi Shambhala? Yes, movie projector is behind you. Then say movie projector is the example for your mind. You look at the flower here, but your mind is here. Your mind is a projector. Your mind is a projector. So like the screen, on the screen, the movie of the flower is projected by your mind. What is there? Pool of atoms. And atoms are not the flower, but you see flower. Where is this flower coming from? It's coming from your mind. And some of you may have even the question about the atoms. If the atoms also coming from your mind, even the atoms also come from the mind. So this is the movie is not on the screen, it's projected by the mind. Projected by the projector. What then Shambhala said, the movie on the screen is projected by the projector. Light is projected. Light is projected. So the movie is projected. Project. Now mental projection is also known as mental imputation. Mental projection, mental imputation, mental designation, giving a label. Oh, this flower there. Actually, there's nothing, there's a flower. Your mind labels. Mental labeling, giving names. For example, okay, Tenzi Chunzum. Why are you Tenzi Chunzum? Huh? By the way, Tenzi Chunzum and Tenzi Nangsil. Nangsa. Tenzi Chunzum, Tenzi Nangsa. I can distinguish between the two. Okay, how many of you can distinguish between the two? Raise hands. Okay, unless they can distinguish, and Hansala distinguish, and others can you distinguish between these two unless? Come. This Nansal, come. I know that she came from here, therefore I said Tenzi Shinzom. She came from there, I said this is Nansal. Look at them. Can you distinguish between the two? Huh? Huh? Come closer. Oh, look up. Can you distinguish? Huh? Yes, no. Huh? Chirogandela? You can distinguish? Okay. Our Losangla over there. Our the radio. Can you distinguish? No. Okay. Okay, now let me say, because I know safe, if it's mixed up, I can distinguish. Okay, yeah, then just will go. When I was small in school, in my foster home, there are two girls, twins. So we were together, maybe I must be like 10 years old or 11 years old. And these twin sisters, they were like 4 or 5 years old. And we were always together, playing together. So therefore I could easily figure out who's who. Then after about like 15 years, we were separated. I joined the monastery. And then in South India, one of my cousins said that your childhood homemade, one girl is with us in school. And then and she said that she likes to meet you. Is it possible? I said, of course, yes. And she came. Now I have no clue who is this girl. First, one is known as Kelsa, and the other one is known as Yudun. Youngdun. And I have no clue. And then I met the girl, and I had no clue who is this. Although we were together for a few years. After a while, this distinction left my mind. I had no clue. So I always address her as you. I don't give the label name Chunzom. I never give them because if it is Nangsa, it's a disaster. Then they will feel sad. We know each other for all this many years, still you forgot us. So I said you all the time. And finally she said that my sister Kelsang. Oh, you're young then. That's from that day I started to call her Youngdun because he gave me the clue that she's not Kelsang. Okay. So the other nuns, they could easily figure out the difference between the two. Later on, when they're separated, even you will not be able to identify. That's for sure. Okay, just a little digression. Next is what I'm saying is the projection. Mental projection is like the movie projected by the movie projector. Movie projector projects the movie. That's movie. Then the projector is like your mind. Your mind projects. And your mind designates. Designate meaning give a label. Say Tenzin Chazum. So, okay, how many agree with me that somebody gave label Tenzin Chazum arbitrarily? There's no reason why she should be called as Tenzin Chazum. How many agree with me, raise hands? This is known as arbitrary labeling. Labeling, for example, my name is Dorji. Dorji means diamond. I'm not a diamond, I'm a human being. But people call me Dorji. It's just an arbitrary label. You're getting it? So, mental designation, meaning mental labeling. A mind giving a label. For example, let's say Tenzi Chamba. Tenzi Chamba, the person gave a name Tenzi Chamba. This person, the person's body gave the name or the mind gave the name? Mind. So therefore mental projection, mental labeling, mental designation, they all mean the same. You're getting it? Now you see that this is a bunch of atoms. But when you look at it, you see as a flower. Okay. That's the last time where we went in the Anigomba. We were together and next to the kitchen, what was that room? Where we all sat. Sneha? Okay, maybe you have no clue. We can ask these nuns. What was that room where we sat together? Dining room, dining hall. Okay, Sneha, what is that room? Dining hall. Let's say, the first when you build this house, then let's say that Venerable Geshe comes. Okay, which is going to be dining hall? Which is going to be what else? The prayer room. So not sure. And then seeing that this section is going to be the kitchen. So the next room, if this can be made like a prayer hall. So all the nuns can come in, they do the prayers, and therefore to serve tea, it'll be very quick from the kitchen. So let's make it a prayer hall rather than dining hall. Is it possible? Not possible. Very possible. Is it possible? Not possible. Sure? It's very possible. So, whether this room is going to be dining hall or it's going to be prayer hall, who decides? Person's mind decides. You're getting it? Person's mind decides. And at first, you see that, okay, let's make this prayer hall. So the nuns in the winter, when you serve tea, during the prayer, do you get tea? No tea. After prayer, not during the prayer. Okay, who is the disciplinarian? Hansala is the caretaker. Hansala, you don't give tea during the prayer. Huh? So they will not do prayers. Okay, so Hansala is very careful to make sure they continue to pray. Okay, good. So what I'm saying is that at first, so the nuns, they don't have to go out. They can stay inside the prayer hall. They can serve the tea right from the kitchen directly. And then after a while, you see that, okay, but then where are we going to have the dining hall? Dining hall up there, third floor, where you have the prayer hall, third floor. Oh, that's too far away. So let's make the prayer hall. You change it. Is it possible? Not possible. Very possible. So who decides? Mind decides. Mind is subject object. Subject. A subject imputation. Subject projection. Subject designation. Subjective labeling. You're getting it? So this is how everything comes into being. And so this is one thing. So this is the meaning of dependent origination. Depends on mere designation, mere imputation, mere projection, and mere labeling. You got it? Okay, now let me give an example. This is very important. Say, in Buddhism, there are 4 Buddhist schools. What are these 4 Buddhist schools? Anla. Chetamatra, Dotepa. You don't know? Okay, never mind. So, philosophically speaking, the Buddha taught 4 different schools. The first one is known as Vaibhashika. During the group discussions, Aniras, make sure that you learn from others. Vaibhashika, the first one. In Tibetan, Chetamatra. Pada Charumche, Pada Chetamatra, Samadamaradama, Wa, Chetamatra. Vaibhashika, the first school. Vaibhashika, in Tibetan, Chetamatra, Samadamaradama, Wa. I'm giving the spelling. In Tibetan, Chetamatra. In English or in Sanskrit, Vaibhashika, Vaibhashika, Vaibhashika. Number 2, Sautrantika, Sautran, Sautran, Tika, Tika, Sautrantika. In Tibetan, Do Depa, Maudanurdo, Sadadadarmede, Pa, Do Depa. Sautrantika, Sautran, Sautrantika, Tika, Sautrantika. Number 3, Chetamatra, Chittatamatra, Chetamatra, Chetamatra. In Tibetan, Sem Tsampa, Sarma Semmasa Sem, Tsama Tsampa, Sem Tsampa, Sem Tsampa. Finally, Madhya Maka, Madhya, Madhya, Madhya Maka, Maka. Madhya Maka, Madhya, Maka, Madhya Maka. In Tibetan, Umapa, Tau Ashimju Umapa, Umapa. Okay, first let's say all these in Sanskrit. First one, Vaibhashika. Number 2, Sautrantika. Number 3, Chetamatra. Number 4, Madhyamaka. Very good. In Tibetan, the first, Chetamava. 2, Dotepa. 3, Simzamba. 4, Umaba. Very good. Now, the Madhyamaka we will divide into 2. Madhyamaka will divide into 2. Madhyamaka, there are 2 divisions. We have this is very important. The first one is Sva Tantrika Madhyamaka. Sva, 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 TAN, TRIKA. Sva Tantrika Madhyamaka, same. Sva Tantrika Madhyamaka. In Tibetan, Uma Rangyupa. Uma Rangyupa. Rangarang, Rangarang, Ragatagakyudiku, Pa, Rangyupa. Number 2 is Prasangika. Prasangika, Prasangika. Prasangika. Prasann, not M. N. Prasangika. Prasangika. Okay, you can say Prasangika, just Prasangika, or you want to add Madhyamaka, you can add it, Prasanga Madhyamaka, or just say Prasangika is fine. In Tibetan, Tel Gyurpa. Thala Tel, how kaya the question Gyur Pa, Tel Gyurpa in Tibetan. Okay, very good. All the NMC students all over the world, they'll be fascinated to see this school is very different. This retreat is very different. Very sophisticated and go to the beginning. Right? So what we're doing is like the basics. But we've already studied the complicated emptiness. Right? It's amazing. Okay. So now the emptiness concept, according to Madhyamaka and Chetamatra. Okay, again. We put this order. Don't alternate the order. Keep the order as it is. Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Chetamatra, and Madhyamaka. With Madhyamaka, Savatantrika Madhyamaka, and Prasangika Madhyamaka. You have to keep the order like this because that it is again the first one is very gross, Rapa, and then it goes subtler. It becomes subtler. So progressively. This is put in order where you see progressively it becomes subtler. Progressive meaning it keeps increasing, it keeps becoming subtler. Progressively is subtler. The grossest one is set first, followed by progressively becoming subtler. This is what we need to remember. Now, very interestingly, when we said that everything is mental project, everything is coming from your mind, subjective. When it says subjective, there are many ways of understanding subjectivity. So let me share with example. Subjectivity is explained by the Chetamatra. Which school is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one? Third one. And Madhyamaka? Fourth one. Okay, let me explain how the Chetamatra and the Madhyamaka, particularly Prasangika Madhyamaka, these two explain emptiness in their own ways. And these two explain, and these two schools explain the subjective nature. Okay, let me give an example of, say, for Chetamatra, they base their teaching on the Buddha's, of course, the Buddha's own words, when the Buddha taught that all three realms are your mind. Buddha taught, all three realms are your mind. This is the sutra. All three realms are your mind. So, Chetamatra takes this teaching as the most important teaching. And for them, they say that there's nothing external. There's no external reality. It's just purely your mind. There's no external. For example, like, okay, this flower, internal meaning your mind. Internal means your mind. The flower is internal or external? What do you see? How do you see it? The flower you see is internal, your mind, or as outside? Outside. This outside is known as external. Chetamatra school says, mind only school. Chetamatra school says there's no external. You see it's external because of our deception. In dream, there's no real ghost, but it's our deception. Likewise, we see the external, this is deception. So the example they give is the mirror and the reflection in the mirror. Reflection mirror and the mirror, is there a gap? So okay, the flower and your eyes seeing the flower. The flower and the eyes that you see a flower, is there a space gap or not? There's space gap. This is known as external. Now Chetamatra says that this space gap is illusion. It is deceptive. There's no space gap. In the dream, when you see your mother coming, do you see a gap between your mother and you in the dream? Do you see a gap or not? In the dream, do you see a gap or not? Your mother's coming from there, and your mother's coming closer. Do you see a gap between you and the mother? Yes. You wake up. This gap is deceptive. You're getting it? There's no gap there. In the dream, you see a gap. This illusion. When you wake up, you see that it's not true. So likewise, Chetamatra says everything's like dream. This is also like dream. You see a gap, there's illusion. There's no external reality. When they say emptiness, they don't say emptiness of objective existence. They say emptiness of externality. Okay, let me say this once more. Madhyamika, particularly Prasangika Madhyamika say, when you say emptiness, what is the object negation? Hey, anyone remembers? What is the object negation of emptiness? Objective existence. Good. This is according to Prasangika Madhyamika. Now according to Chetamatra, they will not say the same thing. They will say differently. What is the object negation of emptiness? They say externality. Externality meaning external things. External things don't exist. This is to be negated. Okay, tell me. According to Chetamatra, what is the object negation? Externality. Okay, and let's say this. Externality. Very good. Very good. Tell me, according to Chetamatra, what is the object negation of emptiness? Externality. Very good. Okay. So the example that they give is the mirror and the reflection in the mirror. Mirror and the reflection in the mirror. Are these two separated by external gap? Mirror and the reflection mirror, are they separated by gap? Physical gap, is there physical gap or not? Mirror and the reflection. How many of you have seen mirror essence? It says so like nobody's seen mirror. How many of you have seen mirror? Okay. Hansala, is there mirror in the nunnery? Yes. So nuns, they think they have never seen mirror. Not only the nuns, even the others. Vaishali also said no. Right? Okay. So the mirror, how many you seen reflection in the mirror essence? How many see reflection in the mirror? Okay. So mirror and the reflection in the mirror, are these two mixed or these two are separated by space gap? Okay, the mirror and the reflection in the mirror, are these two separated by gap or these two mix up? Separated by gap. Okay, so the separate gap, which means Hansala, did you get a special mirror? With the mirror reflection, there's a gap here. I've never seen such mirror. No, in the Anigomba, there's a mirror. Please show that. Right? Okay. Tell me, how many you say that the mirror and the reflection mirror, there's no space gap, sense? There's no gap. There's no gap. There's no gap. You're getting it? But how many you have banged against the mirror, sense? How many have banged against? Okay, Anilas, look at who are the ones who banged against the mirror. Anilas, look. Manjiji, resent. And Vaishalaji, resent. Look at these people. Okay, Lisa, resent. Yes. Why did you bang against the mirror? It's very painful. Why did you bang? Mirror is moving. Yes. So she's saying reflection is moving. Reflection moving in the mirror. Is moving in the mirror, outside mirror. So the reflection is also moving. It appears. It appears it's moving. It's not actually not moving, you know. It appears moving. So this is illusion. So because it sees us moving, so she bangs against the mirror. Okay, anyone else who bangs against the mirror? David? No. Why do you bang against the mirror? It's very... Okay, so in the shop, like this, say a shop, a small shop, and one wall is a mirror. Then David thought the other side, this mirror, the shop there. This one. And then she goes and bangs the mirror. So which means that David saw the mirror and the image, reflection, there's a gap. There's a bigger shop there. There's no bigger shop. It's just a mirror. You getting it? So this is illusion. This Chetamatra is saying what we see as gap, this is just illusion. You're getting, there's no externality. It's purely mental. If you know everything is purely mental, this will help you to be awakened. You getting it? Okay. Now, the Chetamatra will say with the emptiness, empty of externality. The Madhyamikas will say emptiness of objective existence, which we studied thus far. This is the Madhyamaka philosophy, and what we are studying now is the Chetamatra philosophy. Now, Madhyamaka would give the example. Okay, this reflection is coming from where? For Chetamatra, this reflection coming from where? Reflection on the mirror is coming from where? It's coming from the mirror. If the mirror is not there, reflection will not be there. Reflection comes from the mirror. Mirror is the metaphor for your mind, and reflection is the metaphor. Metaphor meaning? What is metaphor? Sharmilaji, what is metaphor? Stands for, or example, or what? Analogy. Okay, so mirror is the metaphor or is the analogy of the example for mind. Reflection is the metaphor for all the other things that you encounter with. They're all just reflection of your own mind, but you see them as external. This is deceptive. Okay. In other words, the Prasangika will say that the mirror and reflection mirror, there is no space gap. If there's space gap, this is known as externality. There's no externality, empty of external reality. Now for Madhyamika it's very different. So Chetamatra, if you say that this is just your mind, like reflection of mind, then it's subjective or objective. If the flower is just your mind, reflection of mind, then the flower is subjective or objective. Subjective. So Chetamatra also says the flower is subjective. Madhyamika also says flower is subjective. But how they say there's a difference. For Chetamatra, subject and object, there's no difference. There's no space gap. There's no externality. So therefore, the reflection is just the manifestation of the mirror, the mind, subject. So therefore, things are seen as subjective. It's not that easy. It's a little difficult. Don't worry. Just pay attention. Now, Madhyamika is very easy. For Madhyamika, it's like watching a movie, not the reflection in the mirror. It's like watching a movie. You're watching a movie, and there's Shambhala. Where's the movie coming from? Coming from the projector. Where's the projector? Behind us. You getting it? So the movie is coming from the projector. Projector and the screen. Is there a space gap or not? This is Shambhala. This is Shambhala, since there's a space gap. How many agree with this Shambhala? We all agree. Wonderful. So for Chetamatra, for Prasangika, for Madhyamaka, when I say the movie is projected, this movie is coming from where? The movies come from the projector. Where's the projector? Behind you. Projector is the analogy or the metaphor for the subject or object. Subject. And the movie, the screen is the metaphor for subject or object. Object. And the projector is a metaphor for subject or object. Subject. And the movie is coming from where? From the screen or from the projector? Projector. So the movie is coming from the subject. But the subject and object, there's a space gap. There's gap or no gap. If the projector and screen, there's no space gap, you cannot see the movie. There must be a space gap. So for Prasangika, subject object, there's a space gap. Although the movie is coming from the subject, it's subjective, but subject object, there's a space gap. For Chetamatra, the objects are like the reflection in the mirror. There's no space gap. It's subjective, but no space gap. So difference is for Chetamatra, everything is subjective, but there's no space gap between subject and object. For Prasangika, everything is subjective, but there is a gap between subject and object. This is the difference between Prasangika philosophy of emptiness and Chetamatra philosophy of emptiness. Okay, my question to you is, say for Prasangika, when you say emptiness, what is the object of negation? For Prasangika Madhyamaka, which we studied till yesterday. What is the object negation of emptiness? Objective existence. Very good. Very good. For Chetamatra, what is the object negation of emptiness? Externality. Very good. Okay. Very good. Now, if you have some questions from the group discussions, raise hands. Some questions which, okay, yes, Hansa. Oh, okay. Hansa is asking the very complicated question. What does it mean by emptiness of objectivity? Object is the object of the object. Okay, can we do tomorrow? Tomorrow when we leave? Okay, this is a good question. Okay. Okay, is there anyone who likes to volunteer to help me? How to explain this? Emptiness of objectivity of the object is the object of the object. Anyone? Anyone? Chulagandela? Okay, Chulagandela will give the Ravela. Chulagandela.
Emptiness of the
Chulagandela, you can speak in the Mungay. Hansel, you understand Mungay, right? Of course, you speak Mungay. You have to make sure that all the nuns are taken care of. Yes, speak in Mungay. And all the Annas also listen.
emptiness of the objectivity is the objectivity of the objectivity. Emptiness of the objectivity is the objectivity of the objectivity.
Objectivity of the object.
Object.
Yes.
It is in the 동번이지 나도 더 걸벌레 더가 되듯이 나 동부동장 메노야야 돼 배낭 어덕들 최 배낭 술다 최저 배낭 더 술디 dat utsetti singiglada ta ko lombol setti kola de nomchine dat te dat ko nada che ta temrik toka setti singigla shidenjik ngoda ti ya samlo 통어 있나 ta dang 당직 서다 동문이 걸고 유ning 유진이 가다 당어당 높대 가다 bom버레메 율당 율진이 율ኞ지 퇴각고 다 당어당 고 출동매셔치 취 동매셔치 율진녀지 가당 어둑터 대간치 가당 셈내간지 더 때불래 취지 덕술 내매직 배 동부 동장 메뉴야야 배고 어떤 가당시 동어도지 문어물신달에 대비낭수 포 어덕술 세이코나 지거도 라투메티닝 소메디 문어디 물신달에 대 이치 문어지 이치 동부 동장 메뉴지 이때 비난고 톡술 노지다 이쯤이다. 톡술 머누즈가 미노야 톡술 노디 노메다. 노지 마당세 나 어둑터 빼 어둑터 빼 动作靠的弄我的东西，么侬你那的绝对的没，么侬的绝对，么侬的绝对不来，一只哈拉姆的动不动样弄完呢，动不动样没弄的，一直没弄起，别弄起没的。一直我当时那头动我的没弄么弄起弄起啊，弄起别这块不的，头头一直么弄没，这块呢。但这块呢，一直么弄起点呢，但这样子头头人家呢，嘛这样子我当他出的下面去，那路头么弄的，一直么弄一我到让么弄起点呢，下面的呢，下面去的一直我到上个有没的，要不的。이제 고롱나 이제 그래서 웃자자라 삼로 통통통통 다오대다 인정 삼로 통통 거는 즉 있나 자라dik 슈 고쳐 일하더니 남장 오도다도 토대가 온대기 와기는 오면대요. 우대 대자면은 아다 삼로 대자면은 통고서야 대대 개가 마음된 직샷간 시대 배 대자면은 살벌롱 직샷간 마음마셔 삼로 통통통통통 다랑 저 육축 이중원 육티 없는데 너니 당하나에 우두다도 우두님니다도 모여 신들에 당하나에 추어가 등에 냠는데 더가도 뒤진 거도 덮지야도 그래 어딘니 터치
Speak in English. For others. Okay, David La, you let us say? How is the emptiness of objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object? You want to explain a little bit about it? Yes.
It is a conclusion of the four essentials.
Yes. So how do you explain it?
Yes.
The Hansala is saying that I do not understand this line. I know what it said, but I don't know the meaning of what it said.
No, but
So she's asking to explain this
you
meaning.
must go through the four essentials first.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first essential is
Okay, David, don't teach me.
no.
Teach Hansala. Hansala asked the question. Hansala is here.
Shall I say the four essentials?
Yes, you like. Yes, please.
Okay. The first essential is to identify the object of negation, and the second essential is to understand the object's emptiness of being one with its parts. And the third essential is to understand the object's emptiness of being different from its parts. And the fourth essential is to understand the privation that the emptiness of the object being same, one with its parts, and difference from its parts entails the emptiness of the objectivity of the object. And then comes a kind of extra conclusion that the emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object.
So what is this conclusion? How do you understand this conclusion? This is what she's
It is a
asking.
kind of contradiction, but I think it's mainly linguistic. We have no other way of expressing that the objectivity of the object is not there. It is empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Sharmilaji. Okay, now let's see. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Thank you. Okay, now let's see Sharmilaji. Then Hansla. Be ready. Yes, Sharmilaji.
Yeah, now David thankfully has gone through all the 4 points. So I'll just try and sum it up in one sentence. When we understand that any object, anything that exists without being one with its part or separate from its part, that is the reality or the truth of that object. So that's the truth of the object. So I think that's all, Geshe.
Okay, thank you. Next, the Hansla.
The four essentials that was mentioned, that was good. You know, that was each one of them, they were this good. So what is the, it is the emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the object. That is what I have. That is what I understand. So when I see the emptiness of an object, I see the object. That's what I am.
Okay, thank you. Anla. Mike. Antijana. Emptiness of objectivity of the object is the objective of the object. What does it mean by that?
I find that there are too many objects. As you said it like 3-4 times, and then I get a bit confused because it's the object of the objects, which is objective of the object. Something like that. Yeah, and I mean that is the third.
This conclusion.
Yeah, that's right. Which
The
is,
four seals. The
which is-
four essentials.
yes, which is merely labeled by the mind. Sorry, Geshe, I get very nervous
No,
when you ask
no
me a
problem.
question.
Thank you.
No, I'm talking about the 3 levels of dependent origination. Intrinsically, one, two, three,
3 levels of dependent origination.
Yeah, and which means, but what I have been thinking as you've been explaining it is that there are 5 elements, water, air, earth, and
Fire.
Fire, and consciousness and space.
Yes.
So because you ultimately, because space is an element, when you get close to an object, you see the atoms. But when you get closer again, you see the space. And so because of that, because it just ends up being space, it doesn't exist in the way that we think of does, because when you get really close, it's space. So we just impute on what we see, which is erroneous, because if you get really close, it's space. So that's how I think of it in my mind.
Thank you, Anila. Manjariji? Okay. Vaishali? No? Okay. Then Tenzin Nubala. Then Kamalji.
So
Okay, Tenzin Nubala.
emptiness of the objectivity of the object means emptiness of intrinsic existence, emptiness of objective existence, emptiness of true existence, right? So that being established, the final synopsis is basically saying objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object. So the object is empty of having true existence, independent existence, and so on and so forth. So you're just establishing that in the last sentence, last phrase. Basically, that's what it is.
So what is it? Objective to object is objective to object, or the emptiness of objective to object is objective to object?
Emptiness of objectivity object is the objectivity of the object. So
Oh,
basically saying emptiness of intrinsic existence of flower is the intrinsic existence of flower. Like emptiness of intrinsic existence of flower.
Is the intrinsic existence of flower.
Emptiness of intrinsic existence of flower.
Flower is the emptiness of objective to object is the object to object. Emptiness of the intrinsic existence of the flower is the intrinsic existence of the flower.
Correct.
So the flower exists intrinsically.
No.
You said intrinsic is the intrinsic existence of flower.
Because it's empty of. So you're basically establishing that.
Okay, thank you, Tisnumla. Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you. Okay. Any more questions before we leave for the break? Any more questions? Okay, Tendala. Then Tushar.
Geshe di tanda Geshe dada Tony gola sumudo Geshe. That my English is very poor. You didn't understand. So I asked Geshe for Tibetan. Geshe tanda Tony gola tanda chola kande lage deshe Geshe deshe gyasa. Ta kaza Tony gola ma mikimaji kazi kyamgram jegi sumudo akadina. 난중 어디 지디갑서 담보디 덴바시다 돈이디 인지메지 미마라마 어디 체디 개침볼 승도와 근데 이제 가지 않아도 기디 남기다 구쇼다 데라마이 발레 미키마지라 카세 돈이디 마 어디지 잡았는데 렐라보톤데 대시 도치 렐라보톤다 미마 레바센지라 컨디로치 대시 기하고나 어디 스톤
Tendala is saying that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, whenever he gives teachings, he would encourage people to understand the Four Noble Truths and emptiness. Now, Tendala is wondering if there's a way by which we can explain this emptiness, not to the monk scholars, but to the lay audience in simple words. Okay, this is a good question. Okay, so I think David will do that job, right? To explain emptiness in simple words. No? Dejonla, you will do it? No? Jahad? what you learned in Hyderabad. You will explain this? You want to explain it? In simple terms. It doesn't matter. What if you just share with all of us? Tekyongla and Jaharla to collectively.
So what I understood is, in a simple terms, that whatever thing that we see, suppose for example flower, it's like when we go deeper, we see that it's all like in the parts we cannot see the flower. When we go like when we go at atomic level, we observe at atomic level, we see that it's we don't see the flower. So the flowerness is missing in the atoms of the flower. So that's what I understood so far.
Oh yes, Nehala. Yes.
In simple terms, what I understood is emptiness is empty of objective reality.
And for your information, Nehala is the one who started the study group. What do you call it? Full form?
Ethics.
Louder.
Universal Ethics Study Group, Hyderabad.
Universal Ethics Study Group, Hyderabad. She started that, and they are told about like more than 20 people joining the group, and studying. And she and Shrivani, two of them, their families together. Her father, mother, sister, Shrivani's husband, children, everybody collectively they organized the program last year.
Yes,
last year,
2024 November.
November, where I was invited to give a teaching for how many days?
3 days.
For 3 days. It was a grand success. Okay, Sneha, please explain.
Yeah, emptiness is empty of object to reality. It means if you take a flower as an example, if you observe the flower in a electron microscope, it is no more a flower. So you will see the bunch of atoms. So where is the flower is the question. So what we see is not the reality. It is just coming from the subjective mind. That's what I understand.
Thank you, Sneha. Okay, so what Sneha is saying is that what is seen is not the reality. Reality, emptiness of objectivity. Object is the objectivity of the object. Is the objectivity meaning is the reality. What's the reality? There is no reality, is the reality. There's no reality of the flower, is the reality there. Okay. Okay, now Sahil.
Just a follow-up on that, Geshe. Shouldn't that then be subjectivity of the object?
Say it again.
Emptiness of objectivity of the object should be the subjectivity of the object.
That's perfect. What's wrong? Yes, that is absolute reality.
But then the conclusion is emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object.
Yes.
Objectivity is the reality of existence, not the subjectivity of existence.
Okay, this is an amazing question. Okay, now Sneha. And all of us. So what Sahil is saying is that emptiness of objectivity of the object should not be the objectivity, should be the subjectivity of the object. Very interesting. Okay, now I should give the answer to this. Sahil, listen to this well. This looks very oxymoron in nature. It's very interesting and very profound. Don't change it to subjectivity of the object. Keep it as object. There's a great meaning there. If you unfold this, you will get a aha moment. Wow. You're getting it? Okay, let's say that say a person A, I want to check how rich the person is. I want to check the person, how rich the person is. Rich means wealthy. How wealthy the person is, how much wealth the person has. What are you going to check? What are you going to check? The situation of the wealth of this, how much wealth the person has. And then what do? You go to the person's bank. Arunachal bank. What bank do you have? State Bank of India. You go to State Bank of India and person A, sir, manager, can you please check the bank account, the bank balance of this person? Bank balance zero. You getting it? So what is the wealth of this person? Zero wealth is the wealth of the person. You understand it? Zero wealth. Zero wealth, is this wealth or not wealth? Huh? Zero, Sahil, zero wealth. Is this wealth or no wealth? It's no wealth, but you went there to check the wealth, the situation, the wealth of the person. You found that zero wealth is the wealth of the person. You getting no objectivity is the objectivity of object. Okay, I'm glad. Sahil said, which means he likes that. He felt aha moment, right? Okay, very good. Okay, next, the Tushar.
Just explain a little more about the difference between self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude.
Oh, very good question. Very good question. Okay. Self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude. Okay. David La. Self-grasping. Okay, let us all listen. This is very important. What's the difference between self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude?
Self-grasping ignorance is the basic ignorance that makes us see reality in things that have no reality. Makes us believe in an objective reality, that things exist from their own side. And self-centered attitude, I think, is more makes us want or like or dislike or react to these things that we see.
Thank you, David. So well done. Ansla, you'll have to give the difference. Self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude.
I'm more like the self-centered attitude. It's me, myself, and I.
Yes.
That's usually how I explain it. Me, myself, and I. So everything that I do, and I think the motivation is there is something for me, and then that is my self-centered attitude, the self-grasping ignorance. I think it is based on that. It is based on that. It is the system, how my mind works, self-grasping ignorance.
Thank you. Chalo Gandela.
Self-centered attitude and self-grasping ignorance. Self-grasping ignorance in Tibetan is Timuk Dagzin Marikpa, and self-centered attitude is Rangchinzin. So therefore, self-grasping ignorance is the ignorance relating to the object, and self-centered attitude is more of a ignorance that concerning to the subjectivity or the person himself, that he erroneously thinks expresses the ego or the importance is given towards himself, whereas the self-ignorance, the Timu Dagzin, self-grasping ignorance is knowing that knowing that things are objectively and they are from the object side, and that erroneous is towards the object side, and both these are erroneous in the practice of dharma. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Sharmila ji, you'd like to say? Please.
I think the self-grasping ignorance is the wrong way in which we see things, and the self-centered attitude is the way we look at ourselves, which is again arising from that self-grasping ignorance and the importance that we give that.
Okay. Okay. The Manjari ji. Mike.
I would agree with what everyone else has said, and I would add to self-centered attitude that it is the self-cherishing that is shaped by the afflictions and contaminated karmas, that sees self as being that everything reflects from myself, and out of which I respond, my attachments.
Thank you. Thank you. Kamalji. Mike. Mike.
I think the key lies in self grasping ignorance in the word ignorance, that you want to hold on and cling to something with because of your craving, and therefore there is an ignorance that this craving will satisfy you. And I think when you look at self-centered attitude, you're looking at the person that is me, my needs are more important than yours. And I think the self-centered attitude does not see that you are part of the whole, whereas the ignorance of self-grasping is the clinging and the craving part of the affliction.
Thank you. Okay, so this is like a test for the Nalanda Master students. I wish there are more Nalanda Master students here so that they will put to test how much they've learned. Okay, then now let us see this. Okay, let's say that this group, say, okay, Tinzi Yangala, tell me, you love flower or not? You love flower, okay. Tinzin, Tinzbimla, you like flower or not? Huh? Yes. So then, Nurula, oh, everyone loves Tinjamala. Then Tinshazamla, oh, Tinznansala, yes. Tinzrua, then here Tinzin, Tinjutun, Tinjutun, you love flower? Oh, all the nuns love flower, okay. Then Tenzin Anla, Tenzin, Rigdul, Nidun, flowers, Tinzbigla, yes. Tenzila, yes. Here, Tenzila, hey, next Tenzin. Your name? Tenzin Hadran. You love flower? Yes. Here, Tenzin? Tenzin lagi. Flower? Everybody loves flower. Okay. How many you don't, but how many you flower? So. Raise hands. Okay. Chorakandala? So. And Namyala? So. You love flower. Okay. Let us say, just imagine that this group doesn't love flower. This group loves flower. We just imagine that you don't love flower and this group loves flower. My question to you, we are going to make a distinction between what is self-grasping ignorance, self-centered attitude. Okay, first, I say, what is this? Hey, group A, what is this? Group B, what is this? Both agree. Although they don't love flower, they love flower, but the answer is the same. This is purely cognitive thinking of the mind. Self-grasping ignorance is purely cognitive thinking of the mind. It does not have any sense of affinity. I am more important. Nothing. Now, next question. Hey, group A, you like this flower? No. Group B, you like this flower? Now look, the answer differs. That is the affective side of the mind. So self-grasping ignorance is a purely cognitive thing that I exist and I exist inherently or I exist objectively. That mind which sees that I exist objectively is known as self-grasping ignorance. It does not have any affinity shown. Now next thing is that I am more important than others. I am important. I'm more important than others. That is a self-centered attitude. And self-centered attitude, there are two kinds, gross and the subtle. Let me say, seeing the self or viewing the self as important. Viewing the self as important, gross one, and subtle one. This is known as the self-grasping, the self-centered attitude. Viewing the, say, we can put it like this, say, the Viewing this, okay, two ways, gross and subtle. Gross one is self-centered attitude. The gross one is viewing I as more important than others. This is the gross self-centered attitude. Other one is subtle self-centered attitude. Even if you attain arhat, you are liberated from samsara, still you have this subtle self-centered attitude till you attain Buddhahood. Even if you attain liberation from samsara, still you have the self-centered attitude. This is why you don't attain Buddhahood yet. So what is that subtle self-centered? They don't have the gross self-centered attitude. They still have the subtle self-centered. Okay, let me say, I am objectively real person. Self-grasping or self-centered attitude. This self-grasping ignorance. I am more important than others. Self-centered attitude, self-grasping ignorance. This self-centered attitude. Now, say, I am important. I'm important. Subtle one. I'm important by being oblivious to others. By being oblivious to others. Oblivious meaning? Manjariji? Manjariji. Oblivious. To be blind to, not be aware, not be attentive, not be aware of others. Okay, I say, who likes a flower? I like a flower. And who likes tea? I like to have tea. Who likes sunshine? I like the sunshine. Who likes holiday? I like holiday. Always talking I, not talking about others. This is known as who is unaware of other beings. Only talking about yourself. This is known as the subtle self-centered attitude, which is viewing oneself as important, not more important, but viewing myself as important by being oblivious. Oblivious. Viewing the self as important by being oblivious to others. Viewing the self as important by being oblivious to others. The first one is the viewing the self as more important than others. This is the gross self-centered attitude. Subtle self-centered attitude, okay. The difference between the gross self-centered attitude and the subtle self-centered attitude. Gross self-centered attitude is very, very erroneous. It's mistaken because you are not important than others, but you think that you are more important than others. This is very, very, very grossly erroneous. But second mind, subtle self-centered attitude is not mistaken. I would say it is not erroneous, but it is very small scope. It is a very small scope. I think it's very small scope, which means, for example, let's say, what's the problem? It's valid mind. I'm more important. I'm important by being oblivious to others. I'm important. That is valid mind. It's not wrong mind, but it is very narrow in the scope. What's the problem? There's a problem there. What's the problem? Although it's a valid mind, still there's a problem. What's the problem? The problem is that, say, okay, Shulagandar, can you tell me something? A beautiful garden in Tawang? Big space, the garden?
Gardens.
Yes.
Children Park in Tawang. Children Park in
Children's Park.
Children Park.
Children's Park. Children's Park
in Tawang.
in Tawang. Okay. So let's say there is a garden. There are flowers.
Some flowers.
Okay. Let's say that we are all going to Children's Park in Tawang. And it so happened that we went there for what? We were going there for what? To enjoy the beautiful garden. Now we went there, and in the middle of the night, there's a power cut. There's a power cut. But you brought with you a small torch. A small torch. The torch illuminates light. Light is the symbol of wisdom. So with the torch, can you enjoy the garden? You will enjoy the flower. Single flower is not a garden. So although this light, there's nothing wrong, but it's too small. Too small. So I want happiness. Always I being oblivious to others, is very narrow in the scope. So the light is only a small torch. Light, you can enjoy flower. You cannot enjoy the garden. If you want to enjoy the garden, what you do? Wait till next day. That sun comes. Sun will illuminate all the flowers. Not only I am important, but all are important. We all are important. So bodhicitta, that expands your heart, whereas just the subtle self-centered attitude, it only thinks for yourself. Although it's not wrong, but it's very small in the scope. So therefore, self-grasping ignorance is purely cognitive, which is erroneous, cognitively viewing the self as objectively real. This is self-grasping. And it does not show any affinity. Second sign shows the affinity importance, sense of importance. Gross and subtle. Gross one says, I am more important than you. I'm more important than others. That is a gross self-centered attitude. Arahats, they don't have this. The subtle one is what? What is self-centered attitude? Self-centered attitude which views the self as important by being oblivious to others. This is the subtle self-centered attitude. Okay, very good question, Tushar. Thank you. Okay, now how many of you are able to make distinction between self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude? Raise hands. Very good. And how many are able to make distinction between the gross self-centered attitude, subtle self-centered attitude? Raise hands. Good. Okay, tell me, what is the difference between the gross self-centered attitude and subtle self-centered attitude? Anyone? This Biggie? Say something. Mike.
Gross
Rakba. Gross self-centered attitude.
view I as important than other, and the
Subtle
viewing
self-centered attitude views
oneself as important by being oblivious to others.
to others. Very good. Okay. Wonderful. So Anitin Spiegeler is saying that the gross self-centered attitude is the view of the self, which views the self as more important than others. Whereas subtle self-centered attitude is the one which views the self as not more, but important by being oblivious to others. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Yes, Mike.
It's not related to this topic, but I want to ask you, is this related that what is the difference between self-compassion and compassionate mind?
Okay, self-compassion and the compassionate mind. Very good. What's the difference between self-compassion and compassionate mind? Self-compassion is more like renunciation. Self-compassion is more like renunciation, wanting to free yourself from suffering. May I be free from suffering? That is renunciation, and in loose sense, in the today's vocabulary, we can say self-compassion, which means that to take care of yourself. Self-compassion means to take care of yourself with the help of renunciation. Whereas compassion in general is directed towards others, not the self. That is bodhicitta side. Compassion is, may you be freed from suffering and the cause of suffering. Compassion in general is directed towards others. Self-compassion is directed towards the self. Self-compassion is, in Buddhist parlance, it can be spoken of in the sense of renunciation. Very good question. Thank you. Okay, now I know that you have many more questions. We have still 2 more sessions. So bring your questions then. Particularly, Anila yesterday told me that there are many good questions coming up. If you have more questions coming up in the group discussion, the end you see that there are some which require to be addressed in group. Bring them on my table. Okay. Teata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Ade Bodhisvaha. Three persistence together.
Can I please have your attention? So I would like to make a quick announcement. So in the evening, after the third session, after the afternoon session, we are having a separate chalk offering ceremony. And right now, our host is currently making arrangements for it. And if anyone would like to contribute towards that, you can please reach out to Dorji from Losar School. He is raising his hands at the back. So please reach out to him. Thank you.